Yeah, go on then. For anybody who doesn't know who you are, do you want to do a quick little introduction? Who you are, how we know each other, and why anybody should give you a slither of attention.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Ephraim, from the Bay Area, born and raised in the Bay Area, California, United States, and currently living in San Francisco. So who am I? I am a guy who used to have a very piss poor dating life. As most of us do, you have to start out somewhere, I guess. So before meeting Christian, I was swiping on all the dating apps. This was my favorite. I was mass DMing girls my age on Instagram. I found this TikTok that back in 2021 that said, all right, here's the tactic. You got to follow all the girls from your local college and then just send them DMs and one of them will like you. And so I followed that advice thinking, oh, this is how I'm going to get a girlfriend now. I'm just going to find one of these hot girls. And yeah, no results came of that, as we can imagine. We can probably predict why nothing came of it, right? It's very easy to mass follow a bunch of girls and then send them all the same message, hoping that one of them replies. And funny enough, something that happened during that is I ended up sending a message to like two roommates in the college, and they were like, "Oh wait, didn't you send a message to my roommate?" And it was just this big mess that could have been prevented if I was able to walk over to the girl in a confident manner, such as this. So, all that to say, after trying all of these tactics and methods and getting no results from them, I decided to reach out to Christian literally a few days after I came across his content. Because when I saw Christian walking over to girls, I didn't just simply see this as a way to get dates. I saw this as a way to completely transform my life because I knew that if I was able to do the extreme difficult end of things, which is walking over to the girl while everybody's around, then I knew that everything else in between or leading up to that act would take care of itself. And that's exactly what has happened. So Christian, I spent 30 days with Christian in Poland. He taught me exactly how he cold approaches, but more importantly, he taught me how he views life. And I think that that was the biggest benefit that I received from working with Christian because, yeah, sure, I wanted the skill set, but along with the skill set came the ability to not care what people think about me, the ability to go after what I want, even in public when people think that I'm crazy for it. It gave me the ability to have options in my life, romantic options, so that I didn't have to behave in certain ways anymore. Yeah, the romantic scarcity that I used to experience in my life was pretty much vanished away after working with Christian. And yeah, I couldn't say more positive things. I mean, now to wrap up the intro, after working with Christian, the biggest proof that I have of how legitimate he is and how legitimate this skill set is I've created an entire channel dedicated to walking over to women, doing date breakdowns from women that I've walked over to, telling you guys about stories about this happened. Oh, I approached the same girl twice, and and this has all happened as a result of simply picking up the phone, giving Christian a call, and yeah, booking our session in Poland. So yeah,
Mm.
that's me.
Yeah, it's crazy because yeah, I saw recently you started posting. You posted a video about you being rejected, and I often like to just read through the comments of people's videos because it's just funny. I just find it entertaining sometimes. And I noticed that one person actually said, "Hey, just show us your wins." And you commented, you responded to him being like, "No, I'm showing it all." So what you'll find in this particular space is like you'll never actually be able to please everybody. Like there's always going to be people like no matter what you do, there's always going to be people who've got a problem with it. And I'm actually really curious about that perspective. Like, if it was me wanting to learn this skill set, I don't want to just see people's wins. I remember the big motivator for you getting in contact with me was when you actually watch the rejection reel because you're like, oh, that humanizes it, it normalizes it. So I was just curious about what your reaction was when you actually got that piece of feedback from a guy, be like, I just want to see your wins.
Yeah, so who knows where that was coming from? I mean, maybe the guy thinks that if I post my wins more often, that makes me more of a legitimate person, more of a legitimate influencer in this space, for example. But my mindset when I'm commenting back saying no, I'm going to post it all is, yeah, when I wanted to learn this skill, the biggest issue for me was the gap between where I was and where you were. And so when I was able to first, I came across your content and I was able to just see you walking over and finding success and finding women that do like you. And that was the first thing that caught my eye. I was, oh, this is possible. Oh, you can walk over to the girl and actually yield results. But then the very next thought I had was, yeah, but this is this guy. Like, what about me? This guy seems to be so good with him, and he seems to know exactly what he's doing. He seems to be so polished at this. I've never done it in my life. Yeah. So in the back of my head, I'm thinking, well, this guy doesn't seem to get rejected, right? Until you come across the rejection compilation and you realize, oh, this person is no different than anybody else. The same way that every single guy that's ever learned the skill has gotten rejected, so does Kristian. And Kristian's not afraid to admit it. Kristian's not afraid to post about it. That was genuinely what made me reach out to you, is how authentic you were with your content. Because like I mentioned in my videos, most guys they're so obsessed with maintaining this perfect public image that they, especially if they call themselves a teacher in the space of dating, they don't want to make it seem like they have any losses. They want it to seem like every girl likes them and they have this amazing blueprint that will solve dating for every guy. And yeah, it's just unrealistic. So for me, watching your rejection reel made me want to reach out to you because I realized, wow, this person is a human and he's not lying about the human experience. And so for me, I want to do the exact same. If I only posted my wins, I would be lying. Yeah, I'd be lying by omission because I'm purposely leaving out parts of my dating life that are very instrumental to where I am today. Yeah, the rejections have built me. The rejections have got me here. I went through hundreds of rejections in person with you in Poland in order to get myself to this point, and then thousands more since we worked together. So if I was to leave that out, I would be misleading guys by saying, yeah, you just have to get over this fear of walking over, and you should expect that as long as you look pretty good and you've got a decent social skills to you, then the girl's automatically going to like you. You'll never get rejected again. And then guys would try to apply that and come to realize that that is not at all the case. And then they would come back to my content and say, all right, well, then you must be special, Ephraim. You must be Mr. Giga Chad who never gets rejected. And I don't want that to be the case. I don't want to widen the gap. If I'm trying to teach, if I'm trying to bring guys up here with me, then it makes sense to lessen the gap as much as possible. And so, yeah, me posting my rejections is me showing this is what, if you should, I tell guys not to expect anything, but if there's anything you should expect to be rejected. Yeah, you should expect to go through a lot of no's before finding the girl that likes you. It's the rite of passage. That is the cost. That's what it costs to build the skill set, is going through the rejections. So yeah, that's what I think about it. That guy's comment was hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you need the nose as well, not just purely to build the emotional resilience and to get skin in the game, but like you can't possibly cater to everybody. You know, it's like if you're a business, like you can't serve every single person on the planet. Like you need a big chunk of people to say no, because part of the game is actually finding your fuck yeses, like finding the people that really want to do business with you, like really want to get on board with your mission. So I think oftentimes we can forget that, like we need to get the rejections, because if we don't have the time in our calendar as much as we would like to serve everybody. Like if every single person that we went over to was just like a brimming yes, first of all, it would take a big part of the fun out of it. I think we often, I think, forget that part of the thrill of the whole game is the uncertainty, is the not knowing, is like wondering, am I going to go out today and is it just going to be a flurry of no's? Or am I going to find that absolute worldie on the first approach who's just into me from the get go? It's like emotional gambling in a way, but like it appeals to a certain character type, because if it was easy, then everyone would be doing it. And I think a big separator that people can actually have, especially in the modern world, is pain. You know, the amount of pain that you're able to endure is directly correlated to the amount of success you'll be able to enjoy. So, like you were saying before we started working together, it was very much a case of swipe, swipe, swipe. But like anybody can do that because the pain threshold is just not that high. Like you can just sit on your ass whilst you're having a shit and swipe. But like it takes a certain type of pain to go through to actually grow the balls necessary to actually put yourself out there into the world. So like it's a level of pain you're able to endure. But I think like we do need to remind ourselves that like we can't serve everybody. And part of the game is actually just going out there to find your fuck yeses. As far as I'm concerned, if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. And that person's done you a favor. like rather than wasting your time pursuing like a maybe, like for me, you might as well just go out there, polarize from the get go, and just find 10 fuck yeses as opposed to 200 maybes. I just think that's way better.
Yeah, I completely agree. That is a big lesson that I've been learning over this last year. Is now I'm posting content where I've got somebody actually filming me from the third person, and you'll notice that a lot of my conversations, if the girl likes me, last 2 to 3 minutes, and if the girl doesn't like me, oftentimes less than 30 seconds. And maybe that wasn't the case in Poland, yeah, because we were talking about FaceTime with the woman, trying to get comfortable under pressure, and so I'd stay there and I'd talk for a while. But now I'm so direct, and when I walk over, I make it so clear what I want that she has no choice but to be completely upfront right there and say, "Oh, I like you back," or "Sorry, I have a boyfriend," or whatever other excuse comes out of her mouth. And that's exactly what I like. Even though guys might see that and go, "Wow, that's an unnecessary rejection. Wow, you could have reeled a number out of her. You could have reeled an Instagram out of her." I no longer am so attached to my own ego that I need to get the number, get the Instagram to satisfy my own self image. Yeah. Now I can recognize very quickly. Oh, this girl doesn't actually like me. Yeah, she liked the compliment. Yeah, she might be single, but I've identified enough women that do like me that I can very clearly tell when one doesn't. And and often I had this happen yesterday while filming a few times where the girl told me that she had a boyfriend, and of course still very nice, very charming. I go, "Oh, no worries, you're breaking my heart right now, but you still look great." And I try to eject, I try to get out of there, and then she'll ask me, "Yeah, but what's your name anyways? Yeah, but are you from around here?" And she'll want to continue the conversation, which I think is so very interesting. That tells me that I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing. I'm not overstaying my welcome. I'm not making her feel pressured. I'm not I'm bailing as soon as I find out that she's taken. And yeah, I just think that that's an interesting portion of this. So, and what I wanted to add on to what you were saying is, yeah, I was saying before, I noticed that a lot of guys want this skill set at a discount. And I love what you said about the rejections are what is necessary for you to become who you are. Or for me, they were necessary for me to have become who I am, for me to have this channel and all of these date breakdowns. The rejections were a very integral portion of that. Yeah. And guys, they see this, they see my content, and they tend to want the same results, but at a discount. They want the same results with fewer rejections. Yeah. They see my stuff and they think, "Oh, can you please post the wins?" Because maybe they think if I only show the wins, then that means reality is different. That means that rejections aren't real. That means that all the girls are going to like me once I've hit this quote Giga Chad threshold. And it's just not the case, man. Every single person gets rejected. You and I probably get rejected more out of most people in the world, and it's because we go in for more approaches than most people in the world, and it's as simple as that. And the best part is we also probably have a better dating life than most people in the world. Yeah, both things are true. We get rejected more than most people, and we have a better dating life than most people, and those two things are very, very, very correlated. Yeah, you couldn't have one without the other. So yeah, I don't know. I'm noticing that guys tend to want this at a discount, and the discount doesn't work. I would not have become the person I am today if you had given me a discount, right? If I had flew to Poland and you said, "All right, this is going to be so easy. Here, just do this and say this and it'll work." And all of a sudden it was like a magic pill and it was working. I wouldn't have chiseled out this personality, chiseled out this resilience that we talk about through all of these rejections. And I would have been in a different place in life. And so I'm very grateful for the rejections. That's why we talk about run towards rejection. Yeah. Because it turns you into the kind of person that can handle this kind of a life, anyways. So,
Yeah, it's like the difference between training hard at the gym for 5 years and just going and getting liposuction, right? It's like in I think I think oftentimes like we are wired to want the easy route. So it's like if somebody can give you, it's like meditation versus taking a Xanax tablet or something. It's like the practice, like the person that you become through the process, is more important than the result itself. But like because we live in an environment today of instant gratification, it's like for me, learning this skill now is the ultimate separator because most people are not prepared to eat shit for 3, 4, 5, 6 months and then come out the other end an absolute weapon. Like people just want fast, instantaneous results. But what they don't realize is it's a level of respect you get for yourself. Like if you can just go and get liposuction, or you can train your bollocks off at the gym, go through the emotional highs and lows, like really do your research, understand like macros and tracking your lifts and progressive overload and putting yourself into that environment 4 times a week, even when you don't want to. It's pissing down with rain outside, but you get your ass there anyway. You do the session. Might be a mediocre session, but you still learn, you still show up. And the guy who's just like, I'll just get liposuction. It's like, cool, you got the result, but the cost is you didn't become the version of yourself who's actually capable of of owning that particular body. It's like a lottery winner versus a guy who's self-made. You know, if a lottery winner loses all of his money, like most of them do, then they go into some emotional depressive slump because their fortune was based off of blind luck. But if you get like a self-made guy who's self-made, made millions of dollars, and then loses it, then he doesn't get depressed because he knows he's got the skills to make it back. So it's really a skills-based game, is what we're playing. And like we were saying before, the amount of pain that you're willing to endure to acquire a skill set that most people on this planet are just not prepared to put the reps in to achieve. That's why, for me, it's the ultimate differentiator. And I do my best to make people aware it's not an overnight fix. It's not a magic bullet. I'm not delivering liposuction. I'm giving you a framework to follow, but it's up to you what you do with it. You know, it's not just a case of come along, learn a few lines, boom, you know, you get out some absolute tens into your bed. Like, it's big, and it requires a huge character overhaul. Like, it requires a complete holistic transformation of everything that you're doing, your daily habits, your fitness, your fashion, your finances, the way you speak to yourself, the people you're surrounding yourself with, the type of work that you're in. Like, do you have a job which actually allows you to be location independent, or are you just stuck in a small city of 50,000 people? Like, it's related to everything that you do. And unfortunately, I think a lot of guys just don't understand the mountain that's in front of them. And you started early, which is why in 10, 20 years, you're going to be in a position that most guys wish that they'd have started early. But, you know, you can't change the past. You can focus on the future. But I think more people just need to realize it's not overnight success, right? You spent 30 days with me, one to one in Poland. I don't even offer that program anymore. It's like you got in super early, but like 30 days to develop that. I just think it's important for people to recognize that it's not just handed to you. You actually have to be that version who actually wants it and be prepared to eat a lot of shit for a long period of time.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about with discount, right? People want this result, but without having to go through that. And it's like, why do you think that you deserve this result without having to go through exactly what it took for me to get it? Yeah, or at least the equivalent. Sure, we have different variables, different lives, different upbringings, so we'll have different experiences. But you need to go through your equivalent of what I had to go through in order to build the skill set. And it wasn't just like we talk about all the time. It wasn't just the 30 days I spent with you. It was the years and years of laying the groundwork and grinding and working and trying to stack up what little cash I could. And it was the years and years of going out alone and trying to go out to bars alone and hit on girls and finding no success and saying, all right, I got to figure this out somehow. Yeah, like there and not to mention the sales and the cold calling, the door to door. I'm trying to sell a product. I'm trying to recruit people into a pyramid scheme at the time. These were all, regardless of what the activity was, they were all social reps. They were all reps that I was putting towards this, but I didn't even know what this was yet, right? And this just happens to be like this, right? This space, cold approach, all this is aggressive personal development. Yeah, and we're telling guys to get things sorted in their life so that they can actually yield results with this. But what we're actually telling them to do is just become better versions of themselves. It's that simple. Yeah, we make it into a video game because we're guys and we like to think in this manner. But yes, you know, we're maxing out our looks. We're trying to work on our finances. Yes, we're going out. We're going to the gym, working on fitness and then social skills. But at the end of the day, this is stuff we should have been doing anyways. Yeah, you shouldn't just be doing this because you came across our content and you want to learn how to get a date in this manner. I was doing this years before I met Kristian because I knew that I would be better off with better social skills. I recognized that I'd be better off if I looked sick and muscular, if I looked good and I figured out a look for myself. I recognized that I would be better off because of that in general. And I was so correct, because as soon as I met Kristian, I had already developed myself into the person that could yield results with this skill. So all it took was 30 days of actually tactically learning the mechanics of the skill, and it exploded my dating life. But it's because all of the groundwork was put in prior to reaching out to Kristian. And that was the biggest exponentiator of my success, was the fact that I already had it laid out. Yeah, I already was this person prior to meeting Kristian. He just had to give me the permission, right? He just had to feed me the belief, and I could handle the rest. So yeah, I mean, this it certainly doesn't come at a discount, and I don't want anybody to get it at a discount, because why do you think you deserve this life at a discount? Same way a bodybuilder would look at you crying about how you're not as buff as him and say, did you spend as many hours in the gym as me? Did you spend every single day for the past 7 years in the gym like I did? Yeah, were you putting your body under stress, weight, and pushing it anyways, and all these injuries that they probably have to deal with, and gorging themselves with food when they don't want to eat it? All of these sacrifices that they made, all the nights out that they had to pass on because they were trying to work towards a competition, their friends wanted to get pissed at a beach party. Yeah, all of these factors went into how they look now. So we can't just look at the result and say, "Oh, I wish I could have that body, but at a lesser cost." Yeah, you don't deserve it. Yeah, so the same thing applies here. You look at, guys may look at us and they say, "Wow, I wish I could have that dating life. Wow, look at all these guys' date breakdowns." But they're not willing to go through what it actually took for me to get here. And that's why, back to the rejection compilation, that's why I want to post that. Yeah, for I want to push away the guys that comment saying, can you please post your wins? That's the wrong guy. That's the guy that wants this at a discount. That's the guy that hopes that I project a facade out into the internet that says, oh, I don't get rejected. In fact, my dating life is perfect, so therefore I can show you how to never get rejected. But that's not the case. Yeah, I'd be lying through my teeth if I said that to people. So yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. It all
Yeah,
comes down
I
to
was listening
good.
listening to a podcast with a guy called Dorian Yates. He was like 6 times Mr. Olympia. He's from Birmingham in the UK. Really interesting guy. I don't want to get into like gargantuan shape like Dorian Yates. I know what I wouldn't be able to anyway naturally. However, I like learning from especially athletes, like guys who are just like at the top of their field. And one of the things that stuck out to me was this notion of just becoming obsessive with something. Like he was just like, because someone was like, how did you become like 6 times Mr. Olympia? Because it's really difficult, not only to just achieve it once, but to do it 6 times is crazy, especially back then because nobody from the UK had ever done it. It was just like dominated by the Americans. And there's this guy from Birmingham and just smashed it. And he was just like, I was just obsessive. I was just obsessive about it. Like I was just single focused. I knew what I wanted to do, and I was just relentless and I was obsessive. And I think that when it comes to a discipline like this, I think it's important for guys to recognize it's not something that you need to devote your entire life to, like fitness. But I do think like having that obsession or immersion period for about 90 days, where this does become your main focus. That's what I did when I first started. And you had a similar experience with me in Warsaw for those 30 days. Like, I think if guys were able to just tap into that obsessive mindset just for like a sustained time period where they just give themselves full permission to like watch all the videos, listen to the podcast, read the blog, go out, just like spam the streets, do like 100 approaches a week, do that for 90 days. It's like you go hard and then you go home. It's like you master the skill so you can almost forget about the skill. But I found that's the best way for people to actually learn this. It's not by like just doing sporadic approaches over like 2 or 3 years. Like I had a guy who commented, he's like, "Oh, I've done 24 approaches. Like, how long is it taking you to do that?" It's like 8 months. I was like, dude, come on, like what? You just don't want it, and that's fine. It's like you can't be half a gangster. It's like you're either a smoker or you're not a smoker. Decide what you are, and then just be that. Like it's not for everybody, and that's okay. But like doing 24 approaches in 8 months is just ridiculous. Like actions do not align with ambitions. There, it's like, oh, I really want to master this skill set. Great. Like what have you done? It's like me saying I want to build a business, but all I've done is just watch videos on how to build a business for the past 2 years. It's like at some point you just need to start and you need to go hard. So yeah, I'm just curious what you think. Obviously, you've been doing this for a year now, but like, has your overall like volume, like as it tapered off? Like how do you actually navigate doing that? Because I think you're somebody that you had your immersion with me. You know, you went hard for 30 days, and it seemed to me that you're able to integrate it into your busy life quite quickly. Was that how it was for you?
Yeah, that's how it was for me, and that was always the goal. Like you mentioned, I never wanted to be obsessed with this. I was just like everybody else. I was worried about the whole PUA label. I was scared of people starting to think that I was obsessed with going into malls and walking over to girls every day, all day, and I just didn't want to be put in that category. But yeah, Christian helped me realize that I didn't need to be put in that category. That was just labels that prior people would project. So my experience was I like you mentioned, absolutely spammed it for 30 days in a row. I spammed my approach. I perfected it. I got really, really good at stopping the girl, at engaging in conversation, at thinking on my feet. Yeah, getting in front of her and feeling nervous and not having anything to say, but just coming up with something to say anyways. That's what I was learning in Poland. Yeah. And when I got back to the States, it was about 2 to 3 months of similar activity. I definitely wasn't out every day, but a couple of times a week, I would go out and I would approach 5, 7 girls at a time. While I had my little boosted board, I would ride around, and that was my integration period being alone. Right, I learned the skill with somebody by my side, specifically somebody giving me feedback, and now I was all on my own in a big city with close to 1 million people population, and I was all alone by myself trying to do this now. So that was a beast in itself. But once I was able to conquer that fear and consistently go over to the girl while I was alone, then it was just, all right, now let me do it in more difficult scenarios. Now let me do it when there's two friends right there. Now let me do it when I can't tell if she's waiting on her boyfriend, outside. And putting myself through all of these scenarios and circumstances, and then coming out the other side, realizing that regardless of what happened, I'm still alive, I'm still unscathed. Nobody punched me and nobody pepper sprayed me. Like, this is all just reinforcement to my own psychology that this is allowed, that this is okay, that this is, and I, that is minimum. This is actually encouraged. I've had the overwhelming majority of women that I've walked over to tell me that they appreciate the act, regardless of if they have a boyfriend, regardless of if they're in a rush. They always tell me, not always, but most of the time, the vast majority of the time, they tell me thank you. They tell me I appreciate it. And then sometimes they even add on and say, wow, you also look really attractive. Wow, you're so bold. Wow, I wish people did this more often. Yeah, I wish people were bold enough to do this. This would be great. And they're telling me that they act like they're telling us, right? They're telling me and Kristian and I, we can communicate this to you. We can relay it to you. They are telling us that they prefer this method. Yeah, they prefer when you pick up your nuts and you walk over in a confident manner. So I tangented a bit, but I started integrating this into my life, and now I'm at the point, a year and a half removed, where I pretty much can go over to the girl when I like her. Yeah, so it's no longer about going to a location to start my session. Now it's just going outside, and if a girl pops up out of nowhere that I like, I can walk over. I could walk over just like this. It's 6 a.m. I haven't done my hair. I haven't showered. But if I was to be outside, as soon as it gets, the sun comes up and I see the girl I like, I can walk over even in these conditions. I've done it when I haven't shaved for 5 days. I've done it when I forgot my hat and my hair looks like this. Yeah, I've done it when I was wearing just the funniest clothes, or I had no socks on. I had a video date breakdown of this girl from Brazil. I walked over to, I was wearing 2-year-old moccasins with no socks. Yeah. And it's like, this was my goal. I wanted to become the person that could walk over regardless of the circumstances. Yeah, I didn't want to have to go to a location to pick up the girl. And that's why I was so put off by that whole PUA movement that happened in the early 2000s, is because it seemed like it was so calculated. It seemed like these guys they had Excel spreadsheets of their percentages, and they had lines that they were memorizing, and they had locations that they would frequent, and they would go to these places and find the girls there, and it all felt like an operation. Whereas when I think of guys that can do this naturally, yeah, when I think of guys that were raised in societies where this behavior was encouraged, let's say Latin America somewhere, they're not thinking of this in such a calculated manner where they go to the location to find the girl and say the canned lines. No, they're just out and about. They're with their friends. Maybe they're having a beer. Maybe they're on their way to work. Whatever it is, they see the girl and then they start talking their game, whatever theirs is. Yeah, it's going to be completely different to this our style of approach. But the point is that they can just do it. Yeah, they're uninhibited, and that's what I wanted. Like, I feel as though even if you're in a position where you still need to travel to a location to start your session, to approach the first very first girl, then you're still in this phase of seeing this, I guess, maybe this is a new topic to introduce. I'll let you have the floor in a second. I'll just introduce this topic. I said it in yesterday's live stream. Is I was afraid of owning this identity at first. So my identity in the past was I was not the guy who walked over to the girl. In fact, I was the guy who had very little experience or very little success with women up until meeting Kristian. I mean, going months and months and months at a time without having any dates, yeah, without having any romantic activity. And that was my identity and that was my reality. And so I owned it fully. And then I went to Poland and I spammed this skill set. And all of a sudden, my identity in like the course of a few days, I mean, day two of working with Kristian, I had already lined up my date with Zara Girl. I'm sure you remember, right? So it's like literally 2 days later, my identity had changed from the guy who had very little romantic success to the guy that could walk over to the girl and get a date. Yeah. And it was such a quick shift that it was almost difficult for me to recognize it and actually own it. And so for a while, I was in this kind of imposter syndrome space where I knew what I could do because I'd proven it to myself, but I still didn't think that it was complete. I was like, is that actually me or is that just me in Poland? Right. And then I flew to San Francisco back to SF. And here I am. I proved it to myself here. And then we went to Cyprus, proved it to myself there. And slowly but surely, I realized, oh, no, this is actually just who I am now. I actually am the guy that can just walk over to the girl and everybody else can see that. And now they see me as the guy that can just walk over to the girl. But it's so funny. My identity changed so quickly. So I think that that's a portion of this too, is the person that needs to go to a location to walk over to the girl is still too scared to own the identity of just being the guy that can do it. Yeah. So you need to like switch into put your Batman mask on, yeah, and drive over to the mall and then start the session. Even though on the way to the mall, let's say you hopped on the bus to the mall and you passed by 6, 7 girls that you liked, but oh, sorry, I wasn't at the mall yet. I wasn't approach Ephraim quite yet. So I don't know, maybe something we can talk about. But what are your thoughts on identity, owning identity?
Mm, I think identity is one of those things where it can change in an instant. You know, like
Mm,
if you get into a car accident, you go from being mobile to all of a sudden being immobile. So it's like, you know, you're only ever one event away, like one big event away from everything changing. I think it works the same with approaching. I think it works the same with the identity you attach to yourself, especially self-limiting beliefs. It's like, oh, girls are not going to like me because of my skin color, my height, my hairline, whatever it is. And then as soon as you go over to somebody and she just likes you for you, then it that self-limiting belief just gets bursted in an instant. I think that's the main reason why action, like massive action, needs to be taken because you can you can run around on Reddit forums for the next 100 years asking questions like, do girls like guys who are shorter than them, who have different skin color to them, who are whatever? Like you can just be wanking in the wind for years. But really, if you just go out and you find one person who just likes you, despite the fact you've got a bald head or you are not fluent in the native language, then it's like it's a bigger shift in identity, and that's why I think exposure therapy for me has always been the way to navigate any self-limiting belief. It's like, what do I believe to be true about myself that isn't, and then I go out and I can field test it. I think most self-limiting beliefs can be destroyed by just looking at ourselves like scientists. I learned this from one of my mentors, Daniel. He was like, hey, whenever you've got like a self-limiting belief in your mind, imagine you're a scientist going out into the field to conduct a hypothesis or like a field test. Let's go find out if this is true. So maybe if you're a guy and you've got a bald head and you're worried that no girl's going to like you, then just go out and approach 100 girls this week and just see how many actually were receptive. Because usually what it all boils down to is how big are your balls. That's really the only currency that matters. Like, yeah, like go outside, be presentable, make sure you look and feel as good as possible. But like the only thing that really matters in the jungle or the animalistic kingdom that I think sometimes we forget we're actually in is just how big your balls are. That's really all it comes down to because it projects your proclivity as a protector. It's like, wow, this guy might not be the best looking. He might have a few weird facial deformities, like, oh, his left ear's a bit strange, but fuck me, there's something about him. He's got some groundedness. Like oftentimes they can't even put it into words, but usually it's just about your balls. Because it just demonstrates an absurd amount of confidence. The fact that you can just go over there despite it all. I think if you can do it all, despite it all, and recognize that it just matters about your balls, that's the only thing you need to focus on as a man. It's not to say disregard the other things and start looking like a slob and start playing Fortnite every other day of the week, but balls is all it comes down to. And the way you get bigger balls is just by doing more ballsy activities and acting in spite of fear, running towards the resistance. Do that for a year, and you'll be a completely different weapon.
Yeah, I mean, you can be maxed. It all comes down to balls. You can be maxed out in every other area, but if you're lacking in the courage space, then none of it matters. Yeah, we've got guys in the entourage that are far well off, and because they haven't developed their courage to the point that maybe you or I have, they don't yield the same results quite yet. Yeah, they're still earlier on in their journey. Doesn't matter how looks max you are. You could be Mr. Olympia bodybuilder. If you're still too scared to walk over to I mean, that's almost more pathetic than a scrawny guy that's too scared. You're this big muscular Dwayne The Rock Johnson type, and you're too scared to walk over to the dainty girl. That's even more pathetic. Yeah, it's all about your balls versus the exact opposite. Yeah, we've got a guy who's not looks maxed, body maxed, finance maxed by any means. There's plenty of work that I can put into myself. And yet what I lack in every other area of my life, I make up for it with courage. Yeah, and that was the differentiator for me. It's like the half of my meter is filled with courage. Yeah, and so that alone attracts the woman. That alone, oh, maybe this guy isn't financially well off quite yet. Maybe this young kid isn't 2% body fat quite yet, or whatever these people are trying to go for. Oh, I need to be 3% body fat. The reality is, if I can make up for what I lack in their eyes with courage, then oftentimes that tips me over the edge anyways. And that's all I've learned. That's what it is all about, balls. And that this whole journey has revealed that to me. Yeah. And on that topic, it's funny that we're talking about this yesterday when we were out filming. I remember my cousin, who's not used to anything like this. We were in this dodgy area of San Francisco. We call it the Tenderloin. And this was right next to where we were going to be filming, Union Square. And so when we were parked and we were miking ourselves up, I was like, all right, so just a quick preview. The streets of the Tenderloin are just filled with dodgy looking people outside, hungover. Some people are doing crack, some people smoking here. You'll see on video, there's a guy getting lined up, getting a haircut on the sidewalk of this busy street. And I look at that and I think, oh, perfect. This is exactly where I'm going to film my intro. I'm going to walk through all of this and I'm going to film the intro because guys are going to see that I do not care. Yeah, guys are going to see that it's really about whoever has the biggest balls. Nobody's going to mess with me if I own the act entirely. And I didn't say all of that shit. All I told my cousin was, all right, come on, let's walk. We're going to film the intro. And I remember just a few times he brought it up. Oh, are you sure you don't want to wait till we pass? Wait, maybe we should wait until we get past them a little bit. And then I'll pull out the camera. And I was like, oh, no, it's fine. Just hit record and we'll go. And so he hits record and we start walking through the sidewalk and I'm having to weave in and out of these people and they're looking at me and some look menacing. Some are looking at me like, why is this guy filming? The guy's doing the haircut are like, why is this guy getting in the way? But I did not care. And you'll recognize that nothing happened to me. They didn't say a fucking word to me. They didn't touch me. They didn't push me. This is the same environment that people would be scared to walk through. And I'm over here filming content while walking through it. Yeah, just to show people that like it really truly is just about your balls. And the best part is I was not nearly the most menacing looking guy in that environment. Yeah, I had my this exact shirt on, this little button up shirt. I had this cute little outfit that I'm on, and these guys are looking menacing. They got they're looking mad and angry, and they still don't do anything. Yeah, it's because I'm the one with the balls. I'm the one that can walk over to the girl. I'm the one that can do this bold act, and because I can do that extreme act, then it makes the rest of my life and my delivery and the way that I can move through the world, it makes it just as bold, or at least that much bolder. Yeah, and people can feel it oozing off me. The same guy that can walk over to the girl and not care who's watching is the same guy who can record an intro in a super dodgy sidewalk where people are nervous to even be filming me. I'm like, dude, you just have to press record. I'm the one talking, right? So yeah, I just thought that was an interesting thing to add on because I think it really ties into what we were talking about. It truly is just simply about your courage. Yeah, if you can develop your courage muscle, then everything else will follow. And the courage muscle is developed through action. You walk over, She doesn't like you. You walk over, she doesn't like you. You repeat a million times, eventually she likes you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way for anybody to get started, whether it's completely new to you or you've maybe done some type of approaches and a couple of years ago and you're on some hiatus, it's been a while. Just view it as a growth exercise to get started with. Like, it doesn't matter at the start if you get phone numbers or dates or happy endings. It's just like getting to the end of the day, and like it's the perceived effort involved. It's like, did I really give 100% today? Did I really put it in? Or did I hold back out of fear of how I was going to be received, what other people thought of me? Like, you'll quickly realize once you do start doing audacious activities in public that the rest of the world kind of just goes along with it, because most people are so glued into the metaverse and like doom scrolling TikTok that like they can't even comprehend what they're seeing in front of them. Like, when you're so socially tapped in, it almost makes other people feel uncomfortable around you because they're just not used to that type of energy. And that's why you'll get comments from people like, "Oh, are you drunk? Have you taken something?" It's like, no, that is just an action taker aura. Like, that's what happens when you just take a lot of action. It's a natural high that you can experience because you know you've put so many reps in to develop that state, because the state, that sensation that you're describing, is not given, it's earned. And it's like, it doesn't last forever either. I think that's another reason why things like this discipline, that they hold quite a strong emotional weight, because it doesn't last forever. It's like, you could go out, you could have the best quote unquote session of your life, then you wake up the next day and maybe you kind of feel a bit emotionally depleted. It's like you're starting off from ground zero again. You have to rebuild that state. And that's fun because, like, every day you get set a new challenge. It's like every day you have to prove to the universe that you are that version of you again. But I just think that, yeah, being able to just develop that action taker aura, and people can feel it on you. I think, we're all energy, and you go over to people and they can feel that energy radiating from you. Oftentimes she can tell if you've just rolled out of bed after wanking yourself off into a sock, or she can tell if you've already done like 10 approaches that day and you're in social god mode. So it's like, just view it when you first get started as a way of developing your character, developing your balls. And like, if you place a focus on that, then the results, they'll just kind of come because you're no longer focused on those. Like, the result is not the phone number. The result is the rep. That's how it's just like, it's the same thing applies to the gym. Like, rather than going to get a 10 out of 10 body, just go to the gym purely to do the reps and view every rep as a reward. And that's how you actually enjoy the process. Everyone's always like, oh, enjoy the process. How do you do that? You focus on the reps rather than the result that the reps will yield. So I think that's just a good piece of advice for people who are just getting started. Just view the first 100 that you do, just view them as a way of developing your character, growing as an individual, and just growing a big set of balls. And once your balls have developed to the right capacity, like, talking to people, it's not even an issue anymore because you're just like, oh, this feels scary. Oh, I can just use it as a growth exercise. And if you're growth focused rather than results oriented, you'll be grand. You'll be good.
Yeah, the easiest comparison we can make is sales. It's a comparison I make all the time. And I talk about, it would be absurd if, let's say, I lease apartments, for example. Let's say I go on 3, 4 tours and nobody applies for the apartment that I'm showing. It would be absurd for me to walk into my manager's office and complain that apartment touring doesn't work, property management doesn't work, people don't want apartments, people don't like leasing apartments from guys that are short, from guys that have this certain hairstyle, this and that. This would all be absurd. My manager would look at me and say, Ephraim, what are you talking about? These are people that were not interested. Just go find more people that are. Go tour more people that are. It's the exact same thing here. There's no need to try to stew over each and every approach and the result and exactly what she said, and you're trying to transcribe it all to yourself so you can analyze it in detail. all the time that you're spending analyzing one, two, three approaches can be spent doing more approaches. And those approaches are going to be way more valuable. You'll learn far more than if you did two and then just spent a week analyzing them while you prepared to do your third. Yeah. The action is the key. And honestly, what I'm starting to realize is I think that there's just I don't know what it is. I can't describe it yet. Maybe we'll find it throughout this journey, Christian. But it seems like there are just certain guys on this earth that are just cut from a different cloth. Yeah, I mean, I can't say I was always this way, but at some point in my life, maybe it was all of the sales experience. It turned me into a fucking dog. It just turned me into a guy that goes after what he wants, regardless of what people think, regardless of who's watching, regardless of who's listening. And that is the kind of person that it takes to build this skill set. Yeah. That doesn't mean you have to look or sound or behave anything like me, anything like Christian. You can have what it is that I have intrinsically. Any person can have this, whatever it is that I can't really even put into words right now. But there isn't, like you mentioned, there's an action taker aura. There's a guy, I can look a guy in the eyes and I can just know whether or not this guy would actually yield results in this space. And it's not something I can even describe. It's not just based on his eye contact and his body language and how body maxed he is. No, it's just this. It's almost like you say, guys. They look at me. They almost think I'm. Oh, this guy must be drunk. Oh my God, this guy must have done something. And it's like, no, this is the personality of somebody who has gone through a lot of fucking rejection, a lot of social reps, and it, it's just a different aura. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe we'll be able to expand on this as the years come, but it just seems as though there are certain guys on this earth that are just cut from a different cloth. Yeah, cut from the same cloth that you and I are, and the entourage is. Every guy in the entourage, for example, is one of these guys that I'm describing. And we finally identified them. Yeah, they're somewhere in the world, and we've brought them together into one collective group. And it's just that's why the group is so amazing and so valuable. It's because it's just full of action takers. It's full of guys who look at the rest of the world and go, why are they making so many excuses? Why is this guy talking about, oh, I'm too short, while we got guys in the entourage that are short? Why is this guy talking about, oh, I'm bald, it won't work, when we got plenty of guys in the entourage that are bald, that are older than 40, that are older than 50? We're just looking around going, where are these excuses coming from? Why are people making so many excuses? Of course, deep down, we do know the answer is that they're just scared. Yeah. So it seems like maybe that's one common thread between the guys that I'm talking about is we're not afraid to admit that we're afraid. We're not afraid to admit that we feel inadequate, we feel incapable in this moment. And yeah, maybe that is one of the deciding factors. Because most of the yeah, I mean, pretty much all the guys that I look at and I think there's no way this guy would find success, it's mainly because the guy can't even admit to himself what's actually going on. He's talking to me about, oh yeah, well, I'm not pulling as I want to be pulling nines and tens, but right now I'm doing all right for myself, but this and that. And I'm looking at him like, dude, you look and sound worse than I did before I met Christian. And you're going to sit here and tell me that you're doing so well. And yeah, my dating life is not that bad. And yeah, I'm not too scared to walk over to the girl, just sometimes. And I'm here telling you, no, I was scared all the time. No, my dating life sucks. No, this and that. I'm just honest with people. Yeah, I'm honest with myself. So yeah, maybe that's part of it is just honesty.
Yeah, and I kind of it's kind of similar to what we were saying before about like rejection. It's like it would be it's impossible for me to help everybody because not everybody wants to be helped in the way that I want to help people. Like for me, it's like my ideal client, the people that I really really want to work with. I understand that they're more of a rare breed. So it's like the mantra that I like is attract your people and repel the rest. That's why I love working with entrepreneurs, business owners, high achieving individuals because they already understand what it takes to achieve a certain level of success in life. So it's like if I'm working with guys who've got a background in sales, like yourself, then like I don't need to spell out the process. You already know what's expected. You already know there's going to be more no's than yeses. You already realize that to smash it in sales, you need to be smashing it in a lot of areas of life because your state and your overall energy transference needs to be on point. So it's like you already are aware of the process, but like this is why I don't sell services to students like 20-year-old students. It's because they just haven't accumulated life experience necessary to actually do well with this discipline. I'm not saying if you're a student you can't get results. Of course you can, but they're not the type of person that I want to work with because they just don't understand yet what's required of them to hit a certain type of success. So I think it's just important to recognize for people. It's like it's just having that burning desire to start with. Like you actually just need to have that burning desire. Like, why is this actually important to you? Because I think a lot of times guys don't even know why they're getting started. A lot of times it's just boredom. It's just something to do. A lot of times guys will just see videos like this on social media and they'll think, oh yeah, maybe I could give that a go. If that's the mindset you're coming in with, if you just want to be like a hobbyist, it's not going to go very well for you because you're not fully committed to it. So it's like I think just understanding like why you're actually getting started with this. Like for me at 13 years old, I wanted to develop my social skills and become a magician because I didn't want to feel socially incompetent when I got to my 30s. I was like, fuck, if I don't get this sorted, I'm going to be lonely and lost and depleted of love and social interaction for the rest of my life. So it's like my why was really strong. I was genetic. I think it might be a trifecta of all those different things. But like you have to really want it. Like you have to really want to undergo a radical transformation to get any sort of results in this space. I think oftentimes guys who complain, oh, this I didn't get this result, or this, it's like I just think you didn't want it enough. Because if you had a gun to your head and somebody was like, do 100 approaches this week or it's lights out, you would do it. So it's a case of desire. It's the discipline. It's not doing your best, it's doing what's necessary. And oftentimes people aren't prepared to do what is necessary because they don't like the feelings associated with doing what is necessary, like the pain, the discomfort, the questioning your own sense of self-worth at 1 a.m. on a rainy Tuesday. Most people don't want to go through that process, which is why they don't live the lives they want to live. So yeah, I think you need that burning desire. You need a really strong why, and
Yeah,
then you just need to
the
put a lot of reps in.
yeah, the desire, it's almost as if the desire needs to outweigh the fear. Yeah, I was as scared as anybody else was, but I just knew that I wanted a better dating life. I just wanted options. I wanted opportunity. I wanted to be able to see the girl that I liked and do something about it. I was tired of walking past her for the first 22 years of my life. Yeah, so it's like that desire to become the person that can do that, become the person that can walk over to the girl when I see her and I like her. That desire was a lot stronger than the fears associated with doing this. And to be fair, a lot of the fears associated with doing this were knocked out anyways through my sales experience. Yeah, so it's like, I mean, if you really wanted it bad enough, then it wouldn't matter how scary this is. It wouldn't matter how fearful you are. I mean, I've got content of doing this in front of police cars. Yesterday, same thing, doing a couple approaches. We got a squad car right there. These fears are false. These fears they're not real. They're fabricated. They're societal. The society has told you to be scared of this. Society has told you to keep your head down and don't walk over to the girl. It's too risky, this and that. Yeah. So it's your desire to have a better dating life needs to override your fear of being socially abnormal in society's eyes. Yeah. And the best part is, this is why I love that we record content. Yeah. This is why I love that we're actually in the field showing what we talk about, is because when you see me on camera and then you look around at everybody else, you realize, oh, this guy's actually the only one that looks like he's got life somewhat figured out, because he's actually the only one that's going after what he wants. We're looking around at the pedestrians; they're too scared to even look at me in the eye. This guy, I'm talking in camera like a crazy person to myself. Nobody can tell I'm filming, and they're too scared to even look over. They want nothing to do with me. They just try to avoid me. Yeah, I walk over to the girl, and the people that are around, they make space for me. They're too scared to be in that spotlight effect, and you just start to recognize, man, this was all built. Yeah, society was all built. Our beliefs were taught. Our fears were taught, or at least our social fears, they were taught. And if they were taught to us, then they can be unlearned. Yeah, and that was part of this process as well. I was flying out to Poland. I remember I told Kristian I was scared of filming myself, or not even filming. Sorry, I told Kristian I was scared of just speaking in public loudly. That was the first fear we got over, right? But once again, that was a taught fear, because I see people plenty of times out in public that are able to be loud and boisterous and expressive. Yeah, so that tells me that was also taught. Yeah, and you helped me unravel that and realize nobody cares about me. And once I could really just internalize the fact that as much as I wanted everybody to care about me, nobody actually did, then it really just freed me from the need to please everybody, from the need to satisfy everybody. From like, that's part of the fear, is like, oh, I'm scared these random strangers having a negative opinion of me. But the two things that we realize through this process are, one, even if they have a negative opinion of you, it doesn't affect you, therefore it doesn't matter. And two, they probably have no opinion of you anyways. They probably didn't even see you when you walked past. You were so irrelevant to them. You still are. You continue to be. You will forever be so irrelevant to these people. And you are going to allow that fabricated opinion that you think is going on in their head to prevent you from reaching a dating life that you're actually satisfied with. Yeah, I left a message in the school community yesterday, and towards the end, I said, I say, okay, first you suck at this, then you walk over, you start getting better, you repeat this action. And then the very next paragraph was, and then you wake up every morning and look yourself in the mirror and thank yourself for creating this reality. Yeah, because it could have been just as easy to watch this and write it off as fake, to watch this and write it off as too difficult. But instead, what I did was I reached out to you, I took action, I continue to take action, and now I'm living in romantic abundance. And I can wake up every day living in romantic abundance, knowing that I will never have an issue with romance again in my life. Fingers crossed, yeah. So it's like, if now that I have this skill set, it's unlocked the ability for me to go to different countries and know that I can get a date. It's unlocked the ability for me to leave women that I am not satisfied with because I know I can find another one that likes me. Yeah, if a girl is not exactly what I'm looking for, then there's somebody else that I know I would like better that I can go out and meet today. It's just such a powerful skill. But yeah, like just to end it off on, or end what I'm saying off on, yeah, that sentence there is, I really do just, I don't literally look at myself in the mirror and thank myself every day, but I thank myself throughout the day. Just, wow, I can't believe that I was able to actually put forth this action, create this reality for myself. And now I just look around at people, at society, and I just wonder why they aren't taking action. Yeah, I look around, I'm like, dude, you look so miserable. Yeah, I see a guy and he's walking a dog and he looks miserable, and the girl, and they're bickering as they walk past me, and I'm just thinking, it'd be so easy to just leave, but he doesn't know that, right? He doesn't have access to this information, and it's so unfortunate. And that's why I really, you and I, we really get fired up over this, because guys that watch this, they have access. That's all I needed was access. As soon as it was revealed to me what was possible in this lifetime, I actually took action on it, and I reached out to you immediately. Access is the most important part. So there are plenty of guys that they actually have the upper hand right now. They just don't realize it. They have access to this information, and they're just sitting around just poking it with a stick, going, oh, maybe one day, oh, maybe I could actually do something like this. And there are guys that are living daily wishing, yeah, they don't even know what this is. They're not even aware this exists, but they wish that they were living in a different reality. And we have a blueprint that can create that reality for them, and they don't even know about it. So I feel for those guys. I don't feel for the guys that they've been watching this for 5 years and they're too scared to take action. They are just not the right guys. They're cut from the wrong cloth. Yeah. We're looking for the guys that they want to take aggressive action. They've been looking for this their entire life, just like I was. 22 years of no dates, barely any getting laid, barely dates, barely girlfriends. And all of a sudden, in the span of a month of working with Kristian, that changed based on the actions that I took. Yeah. So
And it's always the people who take action fast are the ones who get the best results. I remember Joseph was watching my videos. I think he watched like 2 videos. He was in North Macedonia, Skopje at the time. He watched 2 of my videos. He commented on both of them. Then he booked in a call, and then he signed up like the next day. The people who take action fast, those are the ones who get the best results, because the longer you delay, the more you give your self-limiting thoughts time to solidify until they become too difficult to break. That's why you'll get guys who are like in their 50s who've known about this space for years. Like, it's like they've got such mental baggage associated with it. And all the guys who I work with, especially the guys who are in their 40s and their 50s, they all say the same thing. They all say, I wish I'd have started sooner. I knew about it, I just never took the action. Luckily, when we start working together, I can do a lot to override a lot of their self-limiting beliefs. Like, I've got guys who are in their 50s who are now dating 25, 26-year-olds, like the Iceman, who's got like a rotation of like statuesque blonde bombshells. But what I can't do for these people is I can't give them their time back. I can't do that. That's the one thing that we don't get back. We never get our time back. So yeah, you can make up for lost time, but like if you're a guy and you're in your 20s or your 30s, then don't piss time away. Don't lose time. I think it's one of the top 5 regrets of the dying is like, I wish I hadn't have being held back by the opinions of strangers, like people who didn't matter. So people piss away so many years of their precious time on nonsense. And it's like you only really get that reality check, I think, when you get to a stage in your life where you can't do anything about it anymore. So I'm like, okay, you've got access. I remember when I first learned about this stuff, it was during the pandemic, and it was an interview between James Marshall from the Natural Lifestyles and Zan Perion, and they were having a conversation. It just got fed to me by the algorithm, which I actually think the algorithm is God operating in disguise. I just got fed this video during the pandemic. Then I just started watching like a couple of videos of James Marshall, like in field, Barcelona. And then a couple of days later, I was out in Leeds, went to the Merrion Centre. I was approaching. I was like, this is so cool. Like, why are not more people doing this? It's like face masks, it's social distancing, but it seems to be working. I remember after doing that, that first approach for me was everything, because I already knew that I could do it. I knew that I could be really good at it, but I hadn't yet stacked the evidence that I could do it. So as soon as I did that first one, I just got it out the way. I didn't care how shit it was. It was just like it opened the possibility that I could then do more. So it's like it's the immediacy, it's the ability to just act on immediacy. You've got information, and that's why there's not that much I can do for people when they leave comments like, "Hey, it's been 5 months and I still can't approach." I'm like, what do you want me to do? Because I guarantee, even if we work together, you wouldn't be successful in the long term. That's just the reality of it. Because like I can only give so much motivation. I can only give so much accountability. Like you really need to want it. That's why I at least like the guys who I work with now to have at least gone out and done a few on their own. Because it's like that at least shows desire and willingness. But like if you've just been binge watching content for like 1 or 2 years and I've got nothing to show for it, then it's like, what do you want me to do about it? What are we going to do? Just like go to a cafe and talk about theory? So, it just comes back to that desire principle again. Like, you need to actually want this, like, really, really bad. And then I think the ability to just act on immediacy. Okay, this looks cool. I'd like to do it. I'm probably going to be shit at it if I do it on my own. I'll contact this guy. I'll get the skill faster. But I really don't think there's an excuse to be procrastinating your life away for like 2-3 years, not doing anything. But I guess everybody's different.
Yeah, the immediacy for me too even translates into how quickly I'm able to react and go over to the girl. The immediacy with which I reached out to you is the same that I see the girl, I feel the fear, and I stifle it as quickly as possible and I go over. Yeah, so maybe that's a skill in itself, the ability to act quickly, act on impulse, still make calculated decisions, but just decide. Yeah, make the decision instead of just wallowing in this gray area of am I going to reach out to Kristian or am I going to wait another 5 months? Am I going to walk over, make the decision? You're not, or you're going to. Yeah, and for me, I just try to make the decision. I'm going to each and every time. And to be fair, I've bailed on plenty, but yeah, that's the case for me. And the other thing I wanted to talk about with this topic is with the immediacy. I feel like guys might see my content or your content and see us walk over immediately when we see the girl, and they might associate that with a lack of fear. They might associate that the fact that we see the girl and act so quickly, they might associate that with us being smoother than we actually are, or being more capable than we actually are. And that's what I've noticed oftentimes is like I'll see comments where guys are telling me you're smooth, you look like a natural and this and that. I'm like, you should have met me as when I first met Kristian in Poland. You would not have been saying that, right? You would have not have been saying that I'm smooth and I look like a natural, because it looked as unnatural as ever when I was learning the skill set. Because that's what learning a skill set is like. Yeah, it's gonna look unnatural. You're not gonna look as poised and graceful as the pros, right? The guys, the professional athletes are going to look way better with a basketball in their hand than me. And it only makes sense that that's the case. Yeah. So a lot of what guys associate with naturalness, with game, with, oh, this guy is so smooth, is just practice. It's simply just practice. Guys, they will, oh, Ephraim, how can you do this? How can you juggle this and that? And how can I make the girls like me this way and that? It's just practice, man. It's just I've been through it enough times. I've walked over enough times. I've got rejected enough times that I know how to handle this. I know when she brings up her boyfriend, I know that I'm not going to get aggressive and mad and angry and, oh, you have a boyfriend. I know that if she If she actually likes me, then she'll try to make plans with me right there on the spot instead of saying, oh, some arbitrary time next Thursday, maybe we can get together. I've just practiced it enough. Yeah. So guys are like, oh, I don't know when to go for the coat, the clothes. And it's like, dude, I, I've quote gone for the clothes so many times that is why it appears to you as though it's natural and I just know what I'm doing and I know what I'm saying. But at first it was like, so can I have your number? Yeah, it's like that was the close at first for me. And guys would see that, they wouldn't call that smooth or natural. But over time you evolve, yeah, you sharpen the skill with action, with consistent action over time. You sharpen the skill, you get way better, and your results get better accordingly. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and I think my final question for you is like if you could go back in time and have a conversation with yourself from over a year ago in Warsaw, what would be one piece of advice that you would give to your former self? Maybe a lesson that you've learned over this past year and a bit, like maybe a lesson which has surprised you, maybe like a piece of advice that maybe it's kind of you thought to yourself, oh, I didn't realize. Maybe it's like a self-limiting belief or just like a piece of advice you'd give to your younger self, which maybe would make the journey a little smoother.
Yeah, there's 1,001 things that I would tell my prior self about what to expect, or more importantly, what to not expect. I would tell myself to expect the rejection. I would tell myself not to get tied up in any one result. I would tell myself that no two approaches are what's the word, correlated or connected. No two approaches are connected to each other. Right? They're both completely isolated. But I think if I had to give myself one piece of information, it would it would be just along the lines of what you talk about all the time. It's just none of this is real, man. This life, society, our fears, our beliefs, none of this is even real. Yeah, all of the things that I flew over to Poland with, all that baggage, all that mental baggage that I had with me, none of it was ever real. Yeah, it was real because I believed in it. And you talk about belief is reality. So it's like once I was able to identify that beliefs were taught, and if belief is reality, then if I can change my beliefs, then my reality will also change. That, I mean, that was the biggest lesson that I have been learning through this process. Yeah, if I could have just told myself, but more importantly, if I could have understood that back then I think it would have made the process a lot easier. But at the same time, I look back and I think it happened just as it was supposed to. I would want to change all of these things, but then I wouldn't have come to the same exact conclusions that, we're coming to today, October 4th. Maybe my journey would have been a little less bumpy. And I'm just glad that it was as bumpy as it was. And to be fair, 20 years ago, it would have been a lot more bumpy because I would have had a lot less access to information. You wouldn't have had your content out. We wouldn't have had all of these great resources out on the internet quite yet. So, I mean, I got lucky anyways, but I'm grateful that my journey has been as bumpy as it was so far. And it seems as though you and I and other guys in the entourage, we got Joseph, Jazz, we're laying the groundwork to make other guys' lives or journeys as less bumpy also as possible. But we talked about it earlier in the live. I mean, they're going to have to go through the same things we went through, just their own version of it. So maybe we can expedite the process nowadays. I mean, you've proven that hundreds of times with hundreds of guys that we can just expedite the process. What used to take 10 years to get over, we can now get over in a few days and some technical training or some mechanical training. But they're going to have to go through their same version of it. So even if their journey is expedited, those lessons that we learned throughout the journey, those lessons will be learned somewhere else. It'll just be a different version and an evolved lesson, hopefully. So, but that would be my advice. Yeah, it's just Ephraim. None of this is even real. Yeah, everybody that's walking around, they're scared of the same thing that you are. Everybody that's walking around, they're attracted to the same girl that you are. They're just too afraid to do anything about it. Yeah, it's not that they're better than me. It's not that they're more civilized than me. It's not. No, it's just that they're more influenced by others' opinions than me, the opinions of others. Right? They're just more in a societal chokehold than I am. And yeah, realizing that has really just freed me. Yeah, so that's what I tell myself.
Yeah, no, I like running with that mindset. Perception's reality, even if it's not true. We make it true by believing in it. I remember you went to Warsaw thinking that no girl was gonna like you because you're black, and I was like, nah, they're gonna like you because you're black. And then just that little piece of information, that little reframe, that just changed everything. So it's like, we get to choose our thoughts, and it's like you may as well decide to err on the side of optimism and make your biggest perceived disadvantages your biggest advantages. Like, I'm not a guy who is 5'1", but if you're a guy who's 5'1", it's like, why not just choose to do it all despite it all? Like, why not use that disadvantage that you think you've got as a superpower? And because that really does show a big set of balls. You know, if you're in a society where it's like the general height is like 6'2" and you're 5'1" and you've just got the bravado to go over, like no fucks given, then there's just something truly compelling about that. And it's like the way that I would think it with a business mindset is start documenting it, like start making videos about it. Like you literally have one of the most beautiful angles to be like an incredible coach in this space. It's like, hey, here's my results. I'm 5'1". I'm approaching in a city where the average height is 6'2". Here's my results. Here's what I'm doing. I can inspire other guys as well. But like most people are just like, well, this is just going to be working against me. I can't do anything. But again, it's like perception's reality. You know, it's you can't decide the cards that you've been given, but you can decide how you want to play the hands. You know, I think no one is ever like a perfect human. You know, we've all got our perceived faults, and there's some things about ourselves that maybe we wish were different, but they're not different. So you just got to play the hand you've been dealt to the best of your ability. Let the cards fall where they may, and recognize that in 100 years, no, this is going to fucking matter anyway. So yeah, go on. And where can guys find you if they resonate with you?
Yeah, so first place you can find me, I've got a channel going called Pull University. I basically document my life at this point. I'm not teaching anything. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just showing you what I do and hopefully inspiring you to take action. So that channel, it's just videos of me walking over to women, videos of me documenting my experiences, talking about my experiences on these dates and how I got the dates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then the other place you can find me is it's called the Entourage. Access closed right now, unfortunately. So usually I would have started with that, but yeah, Christian's not accepting any applications, or at least he's not accepting, he's not approving any applications right now. So yeah, you can still apply to join. Maybe when doors open again in the future, you can become one of the members. But it's just been the most valuable place, the most valuable echo chamber of compassion and encouragement that I've ever been a part of. And it's just full of guys that get it. Yeah, I've been, I found Christian through the internet, and I thought it was just me and Christian on this journey. And then I realized, no, there are guys around the world that also see life through our eyes through the same lens. And so having all of these guys in one chat where we can talk about all of our experiences, and then of course the fun part is talk about all the results that we get. And oh my God, this date I went on, and oh, I got my first date, the cold approach. Right, we're hearing some guys say it's just, yeah, it's just so nice. So that's where you could also find me. I'm a pretty active member in the Entourage. So yeah.
Nice one. Yeah, I'll link. I'll put your details in the title. Did you say you filmed a new video recently?
Yeah. So I'm gonna be editing that today. Posting
Nice.
it either today or tomorrow.
What
Yeah,
type of
edited a new
what
video.
type of video is it? Is it like what can people expect?
Yeah, it's just a video of me in downtown San Francisco. I had my cousin filming me. We just got a camera and a mic set up out, and I said, "All right, today I'm gonna go approach girls." So the intro is a little more elaborate than that, but that's essentially what it is. It's me talking about. It's me showing what I talk about. I'm not just here to say that I can do this. Oh, I can get all these great results. I'm here to show it. Yeah, that's the biggest differentiator between us and other creators. I'll show it. So yeah, it's me actually walking over to the girl, getting the conversation on camera and on audio, and just breaking it down afterwards and talking about what I was thinking, how scared I was. Sometimes you'll hear me before the approach. I'll go, "All right, cousin, I'm gonna approach that girl. Oh my God, she's hot. Oh, I'm scared. Yeah, and I'm just being real. I'm being authentic because that's what this is all about." So, and then I'll just end it off by saying that if you are interested in joining the Entourage, then of course doors are closed now. But I recommend that you submit your application to Christian because, yeah, since meeting Christian, my life has completely exploded, man. My dating life, I mean, my life in general. All I can guarantee is your dating life will be great, but my life has exploded. I'm just a different person. Every room I walk into, I'm different. People treat me different. Yeah, I feel different about myself. My self image is is on the moon now. It used to be in the dumps, and life is just good. Yeah, that's all I can say is I got exactly what I paid for. Yeah, I was hoping to unlock this lifestyle, and I didn't know what it would look like at the time. And now I'm looking back on it and I'm going, wow, I got way more than what I paid for. So yeah, I really appreciate you as always, Christian.
No, you're welcome, man. Yeah, it's good for me just having conversations like these because sometimes I just forget. I forget like the impact that I have on people. You know, it's like just actually sitting down with people and having these conversations, and then just being able to watch you put videos out there into the world. And I'm just like, oh, this guy's crushing it. And then sometimes I forget we actually work together. So it's just nice. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't expect any of this to happen really when I started, and like I just think it's cool. And we often speak about decades as opposed to days. And I think, yeah, 10 years from now, it's I don't know, honestly. I think sometimes people like to have these like 10-year visions of where I'm going to be, and I like no fucking idea. But like, I do think it'll be a cool reality that we're both living in, and yeah, hopefully, like everybody that we're associated with continues to expand and to win. And yeah, just being here every step of the way along the journey is important. So yeah, thanks for dedicating your time to the stream. Really appreciate it. We'll do more of these in the future, and then I'll link your title above so people can go over and shower you with support and leave some interesting comments, which I'm going to enjoy reading at 7 a.m. on a Sunday when I'm just like, oh, let's see what magic's going to be happening around here. But no, I appreciate you, and we'll speak again soon. All
Yeah, stay sexy.
right.